James Lascara, welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
I appreciate it. Have you had anybody on twice?
We have had a couple people. I'm trying to think. Who have we had on twice? David, have you been on twice? Not yet. We got to do another episode. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I'm so grateful to be on. I love this.
Dude, I love this too. And I'm happy to have you back now because when you came on first, let me think. It was like October, November-ish 2023.
It was January. I think it was the first show of 2024.
Was it?
January 2024.
So it's been like a year and a few months. And at that time, you were secretive about what you could say. You were in the military, but you couldn't correlate some of those experiences to what you do now. We can talk about this later in the show. But this show, you seem a lot more free, just like you're, ready to do business and ready to talk.
Yes, sir.
And that's a beautiful thing. I love that.
I love it too.
So you're getting out of the military.
I'm getting out of the military. I'm basically on terminal now. So functionally, I'm kind of out. Administratively, have a few more documents and processes to get through.
And you've got a couple more months to go.
I do.
And you're in for 15 years.
I was.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it went by quick.
Can we talk about that pay thing though? Because and the reason why I do want to talk about it is because what I've seen, I have a lot of friends because I went to a high school that was a military academy. It was Army JROTC. So a lot of the kids I went to school with got in, right? Now they've all gotten out, and dude, a lot of people struggle, man. Like a lot of friends that were great people, smart people, found themselves in that world for, I've been graduated now 15 years, about kind of the same time you've been in. I know you're a little older than me, but it just seems like they get out and they're lost in a lot of ways. You've figured out a way to be in, do good business, and set yourself up to where now when you get out, you're going to hit the ground running. Like, you know where you're at. You know what you're doing. You've been doing it.
100%. I think there's a few reasons for that. I think the biggest reason is people put a ton of their identity in their profession, maybe in their MOS or the specialty that they did in the military. And when they get out, you're not only losing kind of like the camaraderie or the connections you had at your last organization, like your unit, but you're also kind of like saying goodbye to that identity that you held so close to you in the military. And that can be hard for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. We were just talking about pay, and I think you were getting ready to tell me like the final amount as an 04 in the Navy with all the bonuses. 80, 90, not even.
No, it was more. No, it was I think it was around 140, and I left one thing out. I took a bonus at year 10 that took me to year 15, and I think that bonus was, I got to remember, I think it was about $15K per year.
Wow.
So I think
that's
me like
more than I
160.
thought. But I mean, I was looking at this again 15 years ago, and at the time, I literally think certain bonuses, whether it was like housing allowances or certain pay schedules, were like 80 a month, 150 a month. Am I wrong? Like 15, like when you first joined, some of these bonuses were like nothing. I'm sure they've gone up with inflation and all that sort of stuff.
I think they rolled all of the jump, dive, and working with demolitions pay into one bonus, and I think it was like something $600 to $700 per month. But the basic housing allowance has always been pretty fair. It's based on the zip code that you're kind of stationed at. So I think in Tampa, for me, no dependents, 04, it's based on your rank and your family kind of situation. I think it's like in the 2000s, maybe 2,600, something like that.
Yeah. So it's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I was thinking it was a lot less. If you're like 140 all in, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, you can live comfortably. I think if people have like 5 kids, that's where it gets kind of challenging.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The guy I bought my house from was a Green Beret. He retired in 2016, kind of closed out his career at MacDill. He paid, I think, $600,000 for the house I bought, and I paid a hell of a lot more than that. It's interesting that real estate is a huge component of being in the military and wealth building. I've talked to a ton of dudes that like, yeah, everywhere I'm stationed, I buy a house with a GI Bill, live in it, rent it out, move on, and then you own a little portfolio when you get out.
Yeah, I mean, you get that VA loan, you can get it at a kind of a pretty competitive interest rate, but you can also put no money down. And then once you get out, a lot of people have disability from the time that they accrued, and you can get your VA funding fee waived. So it's like there's reduced closing costs. So it could be pretty advantageous.
Super advantageous. And how did you get involved in real estate? We probably talked about this the first time, but
Yeah, it was kind of a series of stumbling into it. I think I have a knack for like uncovering these things, and then along the way facing a hardship and facing the decision within that hardship of, okay, you can learn more about it and overcome it, or you can just like stop doing that thing.
Yeah.
So I bought a house and immediately started house hacking in Virginia Beach, and did that until I moved here in 2019.
But where do you get the information to house hack? Like, was it?
I just stumbled. I stumbled into it
like Bigger Pockets?
No, I stumbled into it completely by accident. I came back from a deployment. I bought a house, left like 4 days later. Yeah, yeah. I was like, this is what adults do, I guess. This is just my life. So I left, went down to Central America, was gone 6 months. Come back, there's a note on my door. It's from a neighbor. They said, hey, we have a family friend. Her apartment flooded. She's looking for a place to stay. And we know you live here on your own and you're your new neighbor. We're just curious if you'd maybe consider renting out a room. I was like, I don't really want to mess with all that, but whatever. I'll meet her, see where it goes. She was I think she was like 55 years old at the time. This old single lady. Dude, it was awesome. It was awesome. She would like mow the lawn, like take care of the house. I never even asked her to do any of these things. And so she lived with me for maybe 4 months. And I was like, could I do this at a bigger scale? And so I did. Wow. And so I house hacked, dude. I
before you knew what it was.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a name for it. Yeah, I house hacked for a decade. I house hacked for a decade until last year, actually.
Until last year,
people thought I was crazy. Yeah, I kind of was crazy for doing that.
I love dudes like that. There's another guy I had on the show, Riley Mudd.
Yeah,
he's like 35, probably too old to house hack, right? But like still does it. He's like, yeah, I'm in a 4-unit, like I've got this and that. I'm like, you don't want to like buy a house and do the thing? He's like, nah, it's way more, like, I'm making way more money house hack. I'm like, all right.
I think there's definitely a season for it. He's in the group. He's crushing it. He's doing a lot
of
business.
Is he in your group, the elite investor?
Yeah, he is.
Dude, your group has been freaking nailing it. Like a ton of people I come across are like, oh, I'm with James and James's group. How many members are you at now?
It's over 100. So I think it's around 110 base members.
Dude.
When we get to, I've decided when we get to 150 base members, because we have an option where people can also add a partner. So I don't count them towards base members, just to clarify what I'm talking about. But I've decided when we get to 150 base member, I'm going to cap it and just have a wait list, just because I want to maintain like some intimacy and strong local connection. That's important to me.
There's so much value when you're in an intimate group. And I see what you're saying, where when you start to get, 150, 200, 300 people, you get lost in the weeds, and it's probably hard for those people to build relationships with other members of the group too.
Yeah. And I never want someone to get lost in the weeds, because like that kind of defies the purpose they're coming into it to begin with. So they can collaborate, get some support on their business growth, and ultimately win using the connections they formed in the group.
Your group is cool too, because you've found your way, just as you've described, into real estate, meaning like that's not your career. Like you're a military guy. You've been in the military 15 years. The real estate thing has been a side deal, so to speak. And the fact that you found yourself in it, you've been successful at it, you've created this group. Now you have all these members, and it's cool because like, dude, you don't have to be 100% involved in real estate to do well in real estate. You could be an attorney, you could be a doctor, you could be in the military and have a fantastic side career, right? So to say, and then get out and have a fantastic setup for yourself. You have a lot of military members in your group?
I noticed this recently on Veterans Day. I was tagging a few folks like, hey, happy Veterans Day. We got a few folks in this group. I was like, man, we got a lot of Marines in this group. So one of my best friends in real estate, Adam Whitney, he's also a part of another mastermind that he helps run. But I would say it's pretty comparative to like the general population. I would say we have a disproportionate amount of veterans. But you know what I realized about all this though, because I was thinking about this. There's a common theme kind of like throughout my life, starting with, I would say, the beginning of college. And that's like fusing what you can accomplish as a team and then bring in a leadership component of that can it can propel you so much further than things you can do on your own. So like I swam in college. That was certainly a component of that. My teammates, they encouraged me and inspired me to do way more and take my swimming career way farther than I could have on my own. Go into the Navy SEAL teams. That like the inherent value of a SEAL platoon is like, you can't do all this stuff on your own. How you're so effective is through collaboration with your team. And you can trust those other guys because they've been forged the same training that you have.
You always promote so much too, like when multiple members of your team come together for a project,
Mm-hmm.
Like you got the plumbing guy taking care of something. You got this attorney in the group taking care of the same thing on this particular deal. This lender in the group is working with like on one deal to have multiple team members working on a singular project. That's probably super exciting. To your point, that's where the magic happens. Like nothing is done solo, you know?
Yeah, I think we had a 6-way deal like 3 weeks ago. I was like, man, this is awesome. This is awesome.
That's probably the coolest part for you, I would imagine, is seeing deals done within the group.
I want to make it clear though, like the group is not about me. That I love to celebrate our members. I love to see where I can inspire them. I love to give them resources that genuinely help, but I don't ever want to take credit for somebody else's accolades, something that they accomplished.
So when people usually invest in real estate, one of the things that naysayers will say is, I don't want to fix toilets. I don't want to have to worry. How the hell do you go to South America on a SEAL team deployment and have a tenant and not worry about your house? I guess you have other things to worry about. But how did you balance that?
I didn't have a tenant at the time. That was in 2014. I had bought a house and then just immediately left.
Just dipped out on it. So it was just a house that sat there.
Yeah, but I would have had a property manager. Like looking back, if I had, I would have had a property manager.
So when you were house hacking, what was the setup? Like someone was kind of living there, paying the bill, taking care of the property while you weren't there?
No, I lived in the same house. Like she lived in a room that was furthest away from the master, and I lived in the primary.
And you split the cost or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think my mortgage back then, man, this is crazy to think about. My mortgage back then was like $1,600, and I think the roommate paid $700 or $750.
And so you guys are splitting the bill, whether you're there or not. And when you're gone, it's cool because like she's taking care of the property, like you said, mowing the lawn.
Yeah.
How far did you scale that out? Did you just do one at a time and sell, or did you end up with a portfolio?
In Virginia Beach, I did one at a time. And then when I moved to Tampa, every house that I've bought in Tampa so far was purposely thought out so that I could get the most out of house hacking. So I've only done new construction purchases since I got here. So 2019, bought a house. It was about 3,000 square feet, 4-bed, 3.5 bath. I had 2 roommates there. I always like people to have their own bathroom. It kind of makes it simple. You avoid friction. And then I also like to avoid people getting blocked in on parking because you're avoiding challenges that come up within the house.
New construction 2019. Did you hold on to any of these properties?
That property I bought for $522,000. It appraised for $565,000. I did a cash out refi about a year and a half later. Then I made it into a rental after I crossed over the 2-year mark to get the capital gains tax exemption. I rented it for 2 years, sold it, did a 1031 exchange.
And where are you researching some of that tax law? I mean, that's a basic law. A lot of people know of that. But like when you're in the military, right, you have this focus and you have your job there. Were you also like when you figured out this house hacking thing and understood some of those metrics, like, damn, this lady lives here, pays half, I'm gone, she takes care of it. That's a great thing. Did you dig into the information and kind of continue on that road and like your daytime Navy SEAL and then at night like reading through Bigger Pockets books, like to explain how you learned about all this stuff?
Yeah, I think when there's something within a topic that interests me, I was like, wait, what was that? I need to kind of like learn more about that to see if it applies to me. So, when the first time I learned about 1031s, I was like, hey, who do I know who's in my wheelhouse who's done a 1031 can tell me about it? Who do I know who's done a cost segregation study so I can learn about bonus depreciation? Like, how does the capital gains tax exemption work? And over enough time, like, man, a lot of this stuff's just on Google and YouTube at this point. So you can go pretty deep with like an 80% understanding. And then that delta to get up to 100% is probably connections that you already have in your network.
That's where your networking group comes in though, because you can do so much on your own, right? Like there is a ton of information out there. People email me like, dude, your podcast is great. It kind of lets me know where to invest, or like, we're from Toronto and we're looking to invest in the area and we listen to your show to understand what's happening where. There's all this information you can find online, on Google, on YouTube. But at the end of the day, you're going to need people. Like you're going to need real people, real relationships to get things done. That extra 20% is where something like your group can really help with that.
I'm on track to do more deals this year than I've ever done in any year. And about 80% of them are done within the group. Yeah. So I think the question that I ask myself is, what is my return on time? I don't have a finite amount of time. Nobody does. So I want to make sure I'm spending my time in the most efficient way possible with other high caliber people who are also legit trying to grow.
Yeah. And we talked last time on the show about how you're vetting these people, right? You want people that have that same mindset. You don't necessarily want people to come into the group and not show up or not take advantage of certain opportunities or not be a part of the team and be meeting with people. Like, you really want people to take advantage, because if that person's not in there taking advantage of that group and meeting with all the people, then they're kind of wasting their own money and their own time and everyone else's time too.
Agree. Yeah, I have a conversation with every person that we choose to invite in. I think that's important. I want to make sure it's legitimately a game changer to help generate a positive result for them.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's only fair to them.
Agree.
So if people do want to look into more of this group, it's called the Elite Investor. It looks like Poseidon25.com is like your main website where people can look into this and find more information. I'm sure you're available if people want to DM you, James Lascara. Check it out, guys. It's super dope. You do like site visits. We could talk all episode about this group and kind of what you're doing. You also have the in-person meetups, which have become hugely popular.
Yeah, so that is the in-person meetup is the Elite Investor, and then the mastermind group is the Elite Investor Mindset Group. So it's like it's a group that's the center of excellence for collaboration in Tampa. That's for more serious investors. So there's like a little bit of vetting that we do. It's not, our mastermind group isn't really the right fit for somebody who's done 0 deals.
Do people in the military with you right now ask you, I'm sure they do, what are your plans after you get out, right? Or is that something you're close with these people and they've kind of known you for the last few years as like this real estate guy?
The latter option. Yeah, they've kind of seen on social media what I've been up to, kind of outside the base, so they know.
Are there people in the military with you that are like, dude, I want to get in this game, bro. Like, this is it's very lucrative what you're doing.
A few are in the game with us. A few are investors. Actually, awesome. One of our top investors is like my college roommate. He's in the military too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went to the Naval Academy, right?
I did.
Damn, dude. Naval Academy, SEAL teams for 15 years. What a journey. Congrats to you, man, getting out after all that time spent.
I appreciate it.
That's an amazing thing, man. Why did you join initially, man? Why did you want to go to the Naval Academy? First of all, super hard to get in. I actually saw 2 buses from the Naval Academy in Hyde Park Village like last week. I don't know if they were here if there was some sort of sporting event. Like, I don't know why they were in town, but all the cadets got off. I think they call them cadets.
Midshipmen.
It's cadet Army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Air Force.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a bunch of kids that got off in Hyde Park Village, and I was like, oh shit, Annapolis, like, what's up?
Yeah, maybe crew or lacrosse.
Something. Playing UT or whatever.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they didn't tell me what it was for, so I don't know.
So why'd you join?
Well, I knew I wanted to swim in college. And in high school, I just got super disciplined, like with my academics and my swimming career. And my mom just suggested one day, she was like, you should look in the Naval Academy. And I was kind of a defiant kid. So I was like, no, it doesn't matter to me. And so I did end up looking into it. They're like, why don't we work something out where you can go to swim camp up at the Naval Academy? I think I was junior going into senior year. Yeah, that was it. And so I went, and I mean, you're not like a midshipman during that time, but they kind of treat you, it's like a midshipman light. And so you're waking up early, like you can choose to do extra workouts. You're seeing some of the stuff that goes on the yard, which is like the campus up there. And I was like, I feel like I fit in here. I feel like I get this. I want to live a life of discipline and bettering myself and being around other great people and high achievers. And so took a recruiting trip for swimming there my senior year. And then you're really immersed. Like, you get to tag along with a freshman who's at the Naval Academy for like 3 days. And I was like, dude, I'm sold. I'm in. I really love this, just all aspects about it. And so once you go to the Naval Academy, when you graduate, you get commissioned as an officer on graduation day. And so you go right into the Navy Marine Corps. And so that was kind of the path that I was on. Freshman year, what kind of led me to SEAL teams, I never even like had thought about it, honestly. I was like, maybe I'll be a pilot. I don't even know. What are the options? And so there were a couple seniors on the swim team who I really, really looked up to. I was like, these are great guys. They're great leaders. They're approachable. They lead by example. All the really good things. I was like, what do they want to do? And all of them wanted to go into the Navy SEAL community. And so I was like, well, what's up with that? I didn't know that was a thing. How does that work? And so it's really competitive at the academy. Over the years, you start out freshman year, there's maybe like 300 people who are interested in it. And by the time they make their selection your senior year, I think we had 27 people who get selected.
Wow.
And I was fortunate to be able to compete and earn one of those spots. And
but before you joined the Naval Academy, you said that you were always very disciplined in academics and athletics. Where did that come from? Like, was your father or someone in your family or even your mother that way? Like, where did that come from?
I think how would I say this? It would be unreasonable to think that parenting didn't have something to do with it. I mean, looking back, I lived in a very logical upbringing. Like, both my parents were engineers. Both were very driven in their own way within their careers. Had two brothers. I'm in the middle. So you're in this just like competitive environment where
your brothers were the same way, very competitive,
they're
high marks.
They're pretty competitive. I would say my younger brother's a little bit more competitive than my older brother, but I'm by far the most. I guess probably not even close. I don't know. I was just wired that way.
Was anyone else in the military in your family?
My younger brother, he followed me 2 years after to the Naval Academy, but nobody else.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when you saw these guys on your swim team that were people you look up to, and then they all wanted to go to the SEAL teams, you probably immediately were like, okay, well, that's probably something I should look into. So you looked it up. Sounds like you worked your ass off and eventually got the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And for 15 years.
Yeah. So the first part of that is training. Like, it's about a 2-year training cycle. I got pretty injured pretty badly during Hell Week. And so that set me back 8 months, but I was still in the training pipeline and just picked up where I left off.
There's so much content out there about this now. It's actually kind of weird how I feel like in the last few years, there's so many stories on YouTube, podcasts, etc., about Hell Week and SEAL teams and movies and all that shit. But 15 years ago, like, what were you going off of? Just these guys on your swim team and some of the guys that had got in and maybe would share their experiences?
There was still content out there. I mean, they had like that Discovery Channel Class 234 documentary special.
Stuff like that,
so you could see stuff with that. And then once you're kind of in that community, you can talk to him who knows a guy and you kind of hear it secondhand. So
you knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. And I think at first it was like the excitement, the allure. But then when you really start to learn more about it, it's the gauntlet. It's the gauntlet of leadership, in my opinion. And that really appealed to me. And you're on a team where you're operating at such a high level.
Right.
That principle is awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want to have low level people around me. I don't think you do either. And so like you're entering a specialty in the military where you know that to be true.
Where no one, well, I shouldn't say no one, there's probably always a few, but mostly it's full of people that are completely dialed in. And I think that's true in business too. In corporate scenarios, people that are high achievers want to be around other high achievers.
100%.
It's almost, when you're trying to build something, I mean, I've experienced this in business where you have a vision inside your head of what you think things should be or how things should go. It doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to other people. But when you have someone that's in your organization that's going against you all the time and has their own ideas, or who's lazy, who doesn't see eye to eye with you, or who doesn't attempt to work hard to make things better, it's so freaking frustrating, man. It's so frustrating, and it's such a waste of time. And I would imagine in the military at that high of a level, there's zero tolerance for someone like that.
You're never going to have you're never going to have a perfect organization ever. I mean, like our own elite investor organization, like, it's not perfect. There's no organization that's perfect, but there's much less tolerance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I fall into like one of my faults is I wouldn't call myself a perfectionist. Maybe David would disagree, but I feel like I fall into the trap of wanting things so perfect. And I think that can actually hurt you. At least I feel like it hurts me, because I don't think it's helpful for people to always have someone looking over their shoulder or always be bothering them and picking at them. I don't think that's helpful either. What I've found in the last 10 years of my career is the best people to bring into your organization are the ones that are self-motivated and almost inherently know what they need to do without you directing them to do it. Like I've hired many different people, and the ones that didn't work out were the ones where I had to like daily, you need to do this, we need to take care of this, we need to take care of this. Those people never ended up working out. The best people in my experience, like, hey, I noticed this happened and then there was an issue here. I went ahead and took care of it, and then here's the result. And it's like, thank you. Like you're allowing the organization to grow and thrive because I'm not worried about you. I know you're taking care of it. I know you've got it on lock.
So I take the same approach, like kind of what you just said. I take the same approach from the military in business of curating a pretty elite organization. I just have to go about it in a different way. So you think about it like when you get to a SEAL platoon, you know that all those other dudes that are, and at the time that I was in the teams, like there were no females that were in the platoons. You have like enablers and technicians and stuff that were females, but in the actual platoon is all males. And so you know everybody who has gotten to that point has been through at least a base level of training, which is still a very advanced level of training. And so that is the screening process to make sure they have the right culture to really be there. And so I try to take a page out of that same book for my own hiring. So I place a lot more emphasis on culture in the hiring process. So I look at things like, are you a problem solver? Are you a self-starter? Do you take initiative when it comes to getting in front of things and anticipating versus being reactive? And so I'm not saying to dismiss technical skills. Those are certainly still important, but hiring for culture with the right attitude of somebody you bring on your team is so much more important. That is undoubtedly a part of my success in business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And maybe without going into the SEAL teams, you wouldn't have had that experience. I feel like that experience in the last 15 years, among other things within that, your time there, gosh, that's going to set you up the rest of your career, man, to have that behind you and to have those experiences and those people that have all been dialed in and on a singular focus. That's in kind of a weird way, some of the best business training you could ever have.
Maybe. I'm grateful for it.
It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but getting into the just civilian like world of business, having that behind you, that's got to be a rock, man. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah.
It taught me so many things about life and about myself.
Yeah, 100%. And do you feel like when you got in, it sounds like a lot of what you were focused on was achieving high marks, right? Getting the best swim score. Like it's all about this internal fire to push yourself to your limits and achieve greatness within yourself. But it almost doesn't seem like, from what you described, you joined out of like America, like let's go fight this fight, right? That sounds like it came within you after you joined.
I think there was a part of that, but if I'm being really candid, that wasn't like my main.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when things get really tough, like I remember just like random scenarios with cold water at night. It's like way after midnight. Things have gone really shitty. You're not like, I'm doing this for America. Like you're not. You're like, all right, what do we have to do to take care of each other right now? Because like this situation we're in is pretty miserable, but we still have a job to do.
America's probably the last. You probably hate America at that point. You're like, this country's making me do all this crazy shit.
No, I wouldn't say hate, but it's like it's not really.
Of course not.
Not a priority in my mind at that time.
I'm just messing around, but I'm sure that the focus is getting through whatever you're getting through at that moment.
Yeah. Together. Yeah.
So, I saw you at City Council last week.
I was there. Yeah.
You've been there a few times now.
I have. Yeah.
How'd it go? And what were you up to?
It was good. So we did a Euclidean rezoning in West Tampa. It was a lot that I own right now, and we went from there being.
What's the address? Can we check this thing out?
Yeah.
Because I do want to talk to you about West Tampa. West Tampa to me is one of the best opportunities for this city to have an additional entire neighborhood that is just a shining example of urban design. For so long, this community was overlooked. Now you have the city and the private sector, the housing authority coming in. Like, dude, there's a lot of money coming to this area, and the roads are being repaved. There's new parks going in. I just think that it's like the next big thing in Tampa.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. So the address was 25. You're almost right on it, actually. 2520 West Beach Street.
Good job, David. This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD Podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com. Beach Street. So all this on the right where the river is where all the new Rome Yard, West River, and all that development's going. So this is kind of right directly west of that.
Yeah, so you got that thoroughfare to the east is Armenia. So everybody's familiar with that.
So zoom out a little bit, David. So what did you do at council? You asked for a lot split here?
No, so it is historically platted as a double lot. And so right now it's a single lot with a single family detached structure on there. And so we did a Euclidean rezoning to take it to RM18. By right, it's RM16. So I could keep it all as a double lot and not actually split the lot and build 3 units there by right now. And so I took it from RM16 to RM18, and then that increases my density to be able to do 4 units there.
To be able to do 4 units.
Yeah.
And do you have anything ready to roll as far as like a sketch of this, or what's the plan here?
Yeah. So somebody in the mastermind group is buying it and building it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So what kind of my thing right now is I'll get project shovel ready and then either partner with somebody in the group or sell it to somebody in the group and like give them a discount.
So you go get the land under contract, maybe you buy it, maybe you keep it assignable. Go to city council, get it shovel ready, and then take it to your group and say, hey, who wants it?
Correct.
And you've got maybe a contractor in the group, you've got the developer in the group, you've got the hard money dude. Like it's all there to be able to facilitate a deal like this.
Yep. So I'll do the development work and I'll structure the financing and like secure debt positions, equity positions, and then get an agreement with them where they either build at like cost plus fixed fee, or a percent of profits.
Dude, it's almost like, so there's all these nonprofit groups that essentially do this, right? And they get government money. You know, there's certain programs that try to revitalize cities all around the country. And these organizations come in and basically do the same thing. You're kind of doing it within your own group in this amazing way. Like I can see what you're doing at scale having a dramatic impact on the city of Tampa, revitalizing the city within not even a company. Like obviously everyone in this group has their own organizations.
Yep.
Maybe they're the principal, maybe they represent an organization. But what you guys are doing is freaking fantastic. Do you have numbers on a large scale of like how many units you've brought to the city of Tampa, any of that sort of stuff?
I don't have like historical numbers. You mean like within the group or
Yeah,
myself?
like you started the Elite Investor Group how many years ago?
It was in October 2023.
Okay, so coming up on what, 2 years?
We're
right?
at a year and a half right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it would be dope if you could figure out a way to find out how many units you've brought to the market.
We have, well, I don't know if I believe in like taking credit for somebody else's thing, but maybe I will find out.
I don't mean you personally.
Yeah.
I mean like your group of people
Yeah.
have figured out a way to provide housing, to revitalize, especially West Tampa, which has been overlooked for so many decades. I know you don't just invest in West Tampa. Obviously, you guys are kind of all over, but I just think it's dope. It would be kind of cool. I'm just curious to put together on like the macro of what your group has been up to, man. Because the circular story you just described, getting a lot in an area that needs revitalization, taking it to council, getting it shovel ready, putting the debt, the equity, everything in place, other members of your group working on it, dude, times that by 10.
So we have over 100 ground up projects in the group right now, and that's not including flips. So it's over 100, and I've kind of estimated that of all off-market deals that transact in the Tampa Bay area, I'm talking like all the way up to Brooksville, maybe down to like the tip of Sarasota down there. Of all off-market transactions, somebody in the group touches one, probably about 30%. We probably touch about 30% of the off-market transactions. Somebody in the group touches it, whether that's they did a loan on it, or they're the wholesaler that did it, or the realtor connected with the end buyer. So the group touches it in some way, probably about 30%.
30%, you're saying, of all off-market?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Just looking at the numbers of like what people were doing in the group and the total volume of off-market.
That's crazy. The reason why I'm kind of harping on this is because I love the idea of a group getting together outside of government to solve for so many things that the city has had a challenge with for so many years. And whenever the government tries to come in, like I know the city of Tampa is, we want to build 10,000 units, and they have all these certain directives, and they partner with nonprofits, and all that's great. And we've highlighted that on the show, and it is really cool to see, and there's great work being done, but it's never enough, and it'll never be enough to have government supply housing. Real estate at the end of the day is a private enterprise. It kind of always has been in this country. That's just how it operates. And kind of like a side factor of what your group has been up to is revitalizing Tampa. And I think that there's certain areas of the country that this type of model specifically, I was going to say doesn't make sense, but it still would in any market. It would just be a different number scale. I just like it because you're taking an area that might be overlooked, and a singular investor might have a hard time doing a deal like that for whatever reason. But the fact that you've got this entire network to accomplish it, boom, 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 it's quick and it's efficient. It's dope.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's an efficient use of land too. So look at that in contrast to what's across the street, what's further to the west and to the east. So that house is dilapidated. That house needs to come down. It's not the most efficient use of that land. So let's develop a mechanism, which is what we do, so that we can make it more efficient. Mm-hmm. So let's get it rezoned and actually build it.
And how'd you find this house? Did you door knock? Was it on the market?
It's on the market.
Wow. Yeah. When you won the contract and did your thing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we were talking earlier before we went live about alleyways.
Yeah.
And you were getting excited about telling me about kind of that process and some of the things happening.
Well, so this area, a lot of West Tampa, not all of it, but a lot of West Tampa is in the West Tampa overlay. And there's unique characteristics that you have to abide by when you build in the West Tampa overlay. And one of them is using an alleyway. And so if there is an alleyway present, whether it's unimproved or improved, the city is going to force you to use that for your new build. And I frankly just disagree with it.
You disagree with that?
Oh, 100%. It's like there are 0 properties on that block using that alleyway.
Sure.
The north part of the block, which is ours, and the south part of the block. Why are we now needing to use the alleyway? And a lot of the old people who have been there a while, they are the ones being like, we need to use the alleyway. But they're not using the alleyway either. And so what happens is a lot of people, we do it. People don't maintain the alleyways. They're supposed to, as if it's like the easement of your front yard. Sorry, not the easement, the right of way of your front yard. The first, 8-10 feet of a lot of people's front yard, you don't own that. The city owns that. That's where a lot of the utilities run, but you still mow the grass there. Same with the alleyway. You're responsible for your back half of the alleyway. Nobody does it, and the city doesn't maintain it either. So it gets really overgrown, and then you have an issue where they force you to put in some infrastructure, like maybe you pour asphalt or you put parking to the rear on your structure and you have to drive through the alley. But then after like August, when it rains every single day here, everybody knows this, it's all overgrown with shrubbery and brush and stuff, and you can't even use the alley. So what do people do? They do what's easy, and then they go and park in the right of way where there's no driveway, which just doesn't even look good.
No, it doesn't look good at all. It looks like crap. I mean, on one hand, I do want the city to start focusing on utilizing the alleyways. I think they're a great asset, but it's also complicated for the reasons you just described. So in this particular parcel, you're going to have to put the garage is in the back facing the alleyway.
Correct.
And you're forced to essentially pave from what, Armenia to your lot there?
I actually think on this one, there's asphalt just covered by overgrowth. You can't see it. It's just covered by greenery.
Looks pretty damn green to me.
Yeah. A lot of them are like that.
Well, they probably all at one point were either brick or asphalt, or I guess brick under asphalt.
Some of them are dirt.
Some of them are dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get the sentiment, but the problem with a directive like that is it has unintended consequences, meaning we're only lucky as a city that you've taken it upon yourself to do this development and attempt to revitalize this area and bring nice new housing to West Tampa. However, when you have rules and policies in place like that, there's a chance that it could actually inhibit development. You guys are moving forward with this project, but maybe if this project was more in the center of the block, the numbers wouldn't work because now you're forced to provide that infrastructure from the roadway all the way to the interior of the block to your garage. So it's like, I get the sentiment with that alley program, but you don't want a directive like that to inhibit growth.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And this has been a policy that's been in place for years, but they only really started enforcing it pretty aggressively about 3 years ago. So you see a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot when we're talking real estate. You see quite a bit of new builds in the West Tampa overlay that were finished in like 2020, 21, 22 that have garage front. There's a usable alleyway and they didn't use them because they did a design exception and they were just approving those through. I don't know like what exactly changed, but they've been much harsher. You can't get a DE through now for alleyway. I'll tell you what they do actually. They will, you'll submit your DE. The city will go out there and they see if it's actually passable. If it's overgrown, they'll trim it and they drive their truck through and then they disapprove you. That's their metric for disapproving you. If they can drive through. So
David, go to the city, just type on Google, City of Tampa alleyway on Google, because there was actually a pretty large study done, multiple $100,000 study on the city's alleyways. They ranked the alleyways. Yeah, go to the top there, Kimley Horn. Yeah, so Kimley Horn Associates did a study of our alleyways, I think specifically in West Tampa. Obviously, to do it citywide, it would have been millions of dollars. There's just too much. But try to find a presentation. Yeah, the action plan. Click that. Have you seen this, James?
No.
So scroll down. They actually have studied this and they ranked alleyways. 5% of the alleyways are completely impassable. That number sounds a little low. And then they have like 80% of this. So keep going. Here's the study map. What are the different, what's the key here? Non-vacated and vacated. Now, keep going here, David. Yeah, they have different example. Okay, right here, surface type. Okay. So they're saying 82 alleys are paved. 57% of the alleys in West Tampa are paved. 24% are grass dirt, 15% partially paved, 4% gravel. Seems like a lot more would be grass dirt, but they spent the money and did the study, right? So
when was that paved? Like when was that upkept? Because if it was paved 50 years ago and now it's all like cracked to shambles, it's basically partially.
I mean, yeah, to your point, like weeds and grass and shit grows very quick here in Florida, especially in the summer, like you said. So go up, David, to the one. Keep going up. There was a picture that had like this kind of walkable, cutesy little. Yeah. Look at that. Wouldn't that be great? My idea, and I'll tell you about this property I bought in Riverside Heights in a second. If we could think about alleys in a different way, using them for garages is a great sentiment. I think on like this macro level, if you could just snap your finger and make that happen, sure. But the problem is, like you said, many people that live in these areas have not done that for ever, decades, 80 years. And so the alleys are completely overgrown. Then you get a developer like yourself, build something. It goes against, I mean, literally in this example on Beach Street, you would be the only garage on the alley that's used, right?
Correct.
I didn't notice any other thing.
No, I've driven it. You're correct.
And so you're the developer. You're forced to spend an extra blank, whatever that number is, to do this. What's the end goal? And then how many years? The city's goal is this. The city's goal is to have a beautiful alley system and use the alleys as assets, right? And use them for transportation and put everyone's garage back there. Sure, that's a great idea. but how long does it take to get there? And then what is the burden on the developers in between? And what is the interaction with the homeowners like? I mean, there's people that are going to live in these homes for 15, 20 years. They've never used an alleyway. They're not going to start tomorrow. So it's like this policy directive sounds great, but how many years and years and years is it actually going to take for our alleyways to look like that? And I think that answer would be ridiculous. I think the answer is like 50 years when we're all 80 years when we're all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the utilities are in the alley over there too. And so like, last time I was on the show over a year ago, I talked about a rezoning thing that I had coming up. I ended up doing it. It was approved and then I sold it. But the utilities, like the plumbing main line was in the rear of the lot. And so you have an easement there that's reserved if the city needs to come on and actually maintain that plumbing infrastructure. So, that I think having them vacated seems like an option, but later, how are you going to deal with that with like taking neighbors' fences down? Because you're going to build the end of your property line. You're allowed to. You just got to deal with that easement later if there's like some kind of maintenance.
I think they should start small. I have an idea. Go to Google Earth. We'll talk about this building I bought in Riverside Heights. This is just an idea. I know people are going to hear this and run with it, but type in 3918 North Boulevard, David. So this is a commercial property I bought. It was an old dry cleaning facility. 39 or 31? 3918 North Boulevard. And we got a couple different options. We could do it zoned CG, so it's pretty flexible. Mm-hmm. It's a great building built in the early 2000s, nice parking lot, 3,000 square foot building. We could either do like a multi-tenant retail play, 2 or 3 tenants, or a single tenant, like a cafe or something could go there.
Do you know what, let's see here. Do you know the total land size there?
It's about, I think it's like a third an acre, so 15,000 or so square feet.
And you're right on Boulevard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff you could do.
There's a lot of stuff we could do.
You could even do multifamily if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, the lot itself is fantastic. You're on an alley. You could really bulldoze it. It's actually not highest and best use. You could go, I think the floor area ratio max there is like 2.0. Mm-hmm. So, we've got 3,000 square feet of building on a 15,000 square foot lot. We could put a lot more square footage there. I don't think we're going to do that. So zoom out, David, go to the top down. I want to talk about the alley though, because my idea was, so you can see like the northern part of the parcel. Just mm-hmm. zoom in on the parcel where you can see the alley, David. Keep going in a little bit. So boulevards go north-south, so I'm not messing people up here as I'm describing this. Yeah, reset. So on the north side of the building, there's an empty space, okay? You've got the parking lot. Boulevard is to the east. To the south is Orient. To the north is a city alley. So that city alleyway is completely impassable, like totally overgrown, probably has not been passable for decades, right? Yeah. My idea was, if we do the multi-tenant play, I keep the laundry, right? In the middle is like a UPS store tenant, whatever. And then on that north side is like a coffee shop of some sort. It would be super dope to get with the city. I could even spend a little money with the city. Probably shouldn't have done that. We'll see. And go through that alleyway, clear it out, get the city to maybe put in some soft lighting of some sort, pave it, and turn it into like a neighborhood walking trail. So zoom out from here, David. And the reason I say that is so many people I'm noticing, and I don't know if, James, you experienced this in your neighborhood, but like there's so much emphasis on walkability now. On this show, we talk about it, and the local governments talk about it. Forget all of that pressure, that like will of government to force walkability on people. Guess what? People are already attempting to do it. Dude, in my neighborhood, you have like moms with strollers crossing busy streets to try to go walk to the neighborhood coffee shop. Maybe 20 years ago, people would drive, right? But just people want to walk today is what I'm seeing. You've got MLK, which is a really busy, dangerous road. I wouldn't walk with my family across that road, or at least busy. I'd be super scared to. So it's like, dude, utilize alleyways as neighborhood walking trails. Like all this old infrastructure we have, whether it's an old railroad line, certain places like in Sarasota, and I know in St. Pete, like the Pinellas Trail, they've taken an old railroad, turned it into a nice bike trail. let's think of our alleyways as assets and use them. Let's not force them into what they used to be, which was for vehicular traffic, for garbage, stuff like that. Today's garbage trucks and big SUVs don't even really fit down these alleyways. You're going to be forced to build garages on that development. That's going to be a little bit of a challenge for a buyer. A buyer with a Tahoe is going to be like, I love it. I believe in it. I want to buy this project. Let me see if I can fit my Tahoe down the alleyway.
Yep.
And you as the developer you're anticipating your buyer, your end buyer.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want local government to have an ambitious idea, an exciting idea, which is a great idea, but then the policy outcome of that idea actually kind of inhibits growth and goes against the directive of the policy.
Yeah, there's some good parks in Riverside Heights too.
Oh yeah.
That you can.
If you zoom out, I think this alleyway could actually connect over towards the river. Like imagine if that was a trail all the way to the river.
Hop on that diagonal, and there's a park right down there.
Dude, yeah.
There you go. Freedom Park right down there to the south.
And to the north.
There you go.
River Heights Park. I don't know. I'm just like, as I've bought this property, I think on actually every commercial property, I own 4 commercial buildings around Tampa now, and they all are on alleyways. This building is on an alleyway too. Now this is all paved. People use it to walk their dogs. People use it for parking. You don't have any like city vehicles, like trash pickup or anything like that coming down the alleyway. I think thinking of alleyways as they used to be originally thought of is a little bit antiquated. With modern vehicles, vehicle access doesn't work. But I also don't like the idea of just giving up the alleyways to developers in terms of like, hey, here's more land for you. We're just going to vacate. Yeah. Like I don't know that I'm necessarily a fan of that. I think we could utilize them for walking trails. Now you have the issue of like people kind of hanging out there that normally wouldn't hang out there. And now the neighbors are pissed off. Like, dude, this guy's hanging out behind my house and I've lived here for 20 years and it's been vacated and I haven't had a problem. And now these people are kind of walking down and hanging out. Like I can see that happening too. So I don't know what the perfect scenario is. I just believe that alleyways are an asset. We should think about them in a different way. You know?
Yeah.
We'll see what the city says on that. I don't know who I should go to first and discuss it, but I think it could be something interesting for the community, you know, to try something out like that.
And I would say in general, though, forcing alleyway access parking in West Tampa is not working great. It's just not working great. I don't know anyone who loves it.
Yeah. I get the sentiment though. Like so go back to that West Tampa alleyway action plan. Like when I'm reading this plan and I see a picture like that, I get it. Like I get the idea. I get the direction they're wanting to go in.
I think we're kind of drinking our own Kool-Aid with that one.
Probably.
Like that's not how any West Tampa overlay alley looks. I haven't seen one like that. You drive around and.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think that's in Tampa.
Yeah,
I'm trying to.
Yeah,
that might be.
This could be.
That might be in like Connecticut or
this
something.
This could be great. Yeah, I mean, you've got most of them are 14 to 16 feet. Some are less.
Yeah.
So it's tough.
Well, let's see what they're saying. I mean, increased walkability, pedestrian safety, which that's what I was saying, reduces the need for front driveways. But so they want everyone to park in the back essentially?
Yeah, you got a rear driveway. Yeah, you can't have a front driveway.
And then but the problem with that policy, the outcome of that policy is people parking in the street.
Or
if there's no driveway, or they're just parking in the grass.
Correct.
And that looks like shit.
Correct.
Place for green infrastructure, spaces to avoid busy streets, additional storefront, a back of house service activity. But again, modern vehicles are not going to fit.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. Like in this context.
Well, what I'm thinking of like service activity for a home is like your Amazon driver would just go down the alley.
No, I know what it means conceptually. I don't know how that could even be feasible with the situation that we have. Like nobody's going to use it for that.
No, and how could you? Like you also have to think about it if you still have Google Earth pulled up with James's property on beach, like thinking about this in practice, right? And just zoom in anywhere, David, like on one of these blocks. James's doesn't, you know. So right now, no one uses the alleyway. Let's snap our fingers and have everyone's garage on the alleyway. Oh, it's one, like 2 cars don't fit at the same time.
Correct. It has to be a one-way.
So Amazon needs it to deliver, and I'm trying to get home.
Exactly.
And you're trying to leave the house.
Yeah.
We need to put traffic lights at all the alleyways. That's the next step, is make sure it's a lot of, and so with this show, all of this to say, with this show exploring all these different ideas and talking with government officials and like politicians, and it seems like everyone really does have good intentions, right? Like the intention, of course, right? The intention of this alleyway program is great, and I love it, and I actually agree with it. The problem is when you have certain policies in place that are put in place and they don't talk to people like you. They don't talk to the developer. They don't talk to the person that is going to go through this experience. Maybe they only talk with a few select people. They don't think of something like this. And then you start to have issues along the way. And that's where we're at now. And I think what maybe started out as a great idea and something I do agree with, I'm kind of forced to rethink it because of what we've talked about today and what I've thought about with my property. It's like, it's great in concept, but don't put something in place that's going to inhibit an overarching goal of the city, which is housing affordability. Well, if you put a directive in place that is not going to allow developers to take bets on certain neighborhoods to build housing, that goes against an overarching goal, housing affordability, which is a much bigger city goal than the alleyway action plan.
I agree. I am under contract on a few other teardowns and vacant land in West Tampa. And last weekend I drove all around doing research on that will inform the design style for the build that we'll put up. This is a different project, but it's nearby. And I drove through one alley that had probably 4 different houses that did use the alley recently. I have a 4-wheel drive truck, for context. I would not have felt comfortable driving that alley with any other vehicle, like any sedan, any normal vehicle besides a 4-wheel drive. Like, I just have an F-150, just normal truck. It was like so poorly maintained, holes everywhere. Like 8-inch holes, not something small. You have a normal car, like you're gonna wreck that thing. So yeah. I mean, but that is one of the ones that was like paved and ready and done with this concept in mind, and it was like barely passable.
That's the problem too, is when you're evaluating a property to buy, you're going to buy a dilapidated home. Maybe no one lives in it, and you want to provide 4 units of housing. What a great thing. 4 families can move in here. You're not building, air quote, luxury, meaning it'll probably sell quick. Like, you're not looking to build an ex-Ritz-Carlton. Now, instead of evaluating streetscape, location, instead of evaluating the surrounding neighborhood, instead of making a bet on all these traditional things, you're forced to evaluate an alleyway.
Which is crazy.
How wide is it? Is it paved? Is it accessible? You know, it's taking away from everything you should be focused on, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I don't want to just come on here and complain. I
we frankly got 30 more minutes to talk about alleyways now.
Yeah. Frankly, I disagree with it, but we work within the confines of the system right now. I just don't think it'll be here to stay. I don't think it is so illogical. I just don't think it's here to stay.
Yeah, but I think we do both agree with the sentiment, like the idea of utilizing these alleyways as assets and being creative and forward thinking.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got cooking?
I don't know. I mean,
Well, one thing I wanted to talk to you about is some of these, I don't know if they're syndications necessarily, but you're buying like multifamily product.
Yeah.
Right. You have these deals that you love, and you bring these deals to your group as well to invest in, like, essentially nationwide.
It's mostly Southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's mostly Southeast. So we just finished one in Tennessee. So my guideline is like, if I'm sharing it with my network, I always invest in it as an LP. So I like those deals. Like most of my capital, most of my net worth in real estate is in those deals. Just set it, let it run. I like those deals.
Why do you do it like that though? Why don't you get all your cash and start to swing some hammers around town?
Well, I don't like to do any hands-on work at any property.
Really? Is that where you're at? Because I know you kind of started that way, right? Or no?
Oh yeah, but you got to grow out of that to like make best use of. I have to make best use of my time. Like that's my
Yeah.
one rule. Like I probably have more than one rule, but I
I think you definitely do.
yeah, I don't like to do any hands-on work at a property, and not because it's like I think I'm too good for it or anything like that. I
Sure.
just don't think it's the best use of my time. And also I'm not like super great, really elite at that thing. I think other people can be really good at that, but we have a lot of exciting things in the works. How much time we got?
You got enough.
Cool. We're going to be breaking out. A lot of people don't know this. We're going to be breaking out I've noticed there's kind of a different level of conversation for entrepreneurs. One that's more focused on leadership and team building. I'll just say the more success that you have in business. So put it this way. Somebody who's earning $150,000 net in their business has a much different kind of problem in their business that they're trying to solve than somebody earning 10x that, who might be earning $1.5 million net in their business. And I'm not saying one is bad or one is whatever. They're both great. But it's just a different kind of room. It's a different kind of circumstance, a different kind of conversation. And so I've started working with my buddy. I mentioned him earlier on the show, Adam. I've started working with him kind of like more exclusively one-on-one. He does really well in real estate. And so we're going to be opening that up a little bit more for people who are kind of like, they meet those thresholds to work like kind of on an exclusive basis within a really intimate, super, super close group.
More of a dedicated approach to specifics in business versus this elite investor group is mostly real estate oriented.
So it's gonna be real estate specific, but we're gonna have like pretty strict minimum standards to be considered to like come into that. And I'm talking like a group of like maybe 10 folks. So that's something we're working on creating.
Very intimate.
Yeah. Yeah. And so for people to be able to do that, probably looking at like a net worth of like $2 million plus and probably earning over $500,000 net in their business today. And we'll vet that to make sure, they're at that level. I see the power. We ran this thing called the Leadership Intensive for 90 days. We're concluding it next week. And 5 of the people who are doing that, they gave some really, really positive feedback. So I kind of just over 90 days gave my leadership principles that I took from the military and how I apply them to my business, how that works for me. And a few things along the way, like my hiring playbook, how I delegate and empower my team, and just how it's given me results, how it's given us positive results. So from the feedback from that, I was like, there's actually another kind of level of conversation that we can have on a consistent basis instead of just this 90-day episodic thing. So look for that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. A group within a group, a more elite group. Very cool.
Yeah.
But with certain parameters.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll that ecosystem will still exist within the mastermind, but I think we'll do a few extra things to bring more value to people that are kind of at that level because they have different problems.
They definitely have different problems. But also, I want to ask you, I want to go back to like why you don't swing the hammer. I know you said you feel like you're not the best, right? You'd rather have someone do it who's better than you. But why scale, James? Like why not dial in on that? If you feel like you're not the best builder, not that you're a general contractor, but you know what I mean, like being involved in the project day to day, being on site, etc. Is it your own personal decision to want to scale and grow bigger, and you got some capital in these deals and those deals and those deals, and you're bringing these deals to your group, and you're maybe developing a property here and there? Like what I mean is, and I'm asking you this because I've experienced something similar in my business where like the first thing I ever did 10 years ago when I started was I bought a little house and I fixed it up, and I'm on site every day. Mm-hmm. I'm buying some of my subs like McDonald's, like I'm trying to support them. I'm if I got to run to Home Depot and get this, or oh shit, the guy forgot to put up this piece of trim. Let me do it myself. Like in the mix. Now I don't do any of that. Yeah. And I don't know that I like on purpose got to that point. I just think it was kind of a natural progression. So you getting outside of that, is that a decision you've made, or is it?
Yeah. I'll talk you through my entire
Let's go
kind of calculus on it. And the short version is opportunity cost. If I said yes to that thing, what did I say no to? So back in like, it was probably early 2021, I was talking to a buddy, and it was a weekend, and I had like, I don't know, 8 rentals here in Tampa. And I was like, I gotta go mow the yards at all my rentals. He's like, you do what now? And I was like, I charge the tenants for landscaping, and then if I just do it myself, I can like basically pay myself the landscaping. He's like, dude, do you like that? I was like, not particularly. And he's like, are you good at it? It doesn't require any really like crazy special skill. And he was like, if you put a deal together, and you break down your hourly amount of time into that deal, what would be the dollar per hour that you're earning for the deal? And by the way, not everything is money, but it's also about like purpose and enjoyment and stuff. So I was like, if I do the math, I'm probably working $200 an hour. He's like, okay, if you hire out the landscaping, what does that cost? I was like, probably, if I do the math, probably about $50, let's say, an hour for them to like cut the yard. He's like, if you don't like it and it's not insanely valuable, it's actually lower value than the time you're spending on putting deals together, the things you like more. Why are you doing it? And that was just a huge wake up call. I was like, I shouldn't be doing it. That's insane. So I stopped. And so, I mean, I have pictures of me under one of my Section 8 houses in 2020, like literally like fixing a plumbing pipe that was leaking. I mean, I was in it. Like I used to do that stuff too, but as you learn more skills in real estate and you can apply those skills, and the application leads to more valuable use of your time, and that produces a desirable result. Like you make more money. It's a thing. That's how I think you can help grow a business. Then you really have to be mindful of the things you now say no to. That's why.
Yeah. Do you know who Omar Garcia is?
I feel like I've heard that name, but
he was in the Navy. He was a CB a long time ago. I think he's maybe in his 50s. I don't know. But he kind of blew my mind. He was on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he did the cigar lofts in West Tampa, the student housing project.
Oh, dude, I was just driving by it this morning.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, like, that's going to change the whole...
Completely. And like the balls it took to take on something like that, in combination with, on that same parcel, the pool and the clubhouse and townhomes surrounding kind of the cigar factory on the south side of the parcel. Like, that project is so, air quote, advanced in the real estate world. It's one thing to buy land and develop something, but it's another thing to buy 100-year-old cigar manufacturing building, turn it into, it's just a crazy deal. He also did 220 Madison downtown. The CVS building downtown was an old office building built in the 1960s. Bought it without the full debt behind him, without a plan necessarily. Like, bought this old 1960s abandoned office building, turned it into student housing. But what blew my mind was he wasn't like you and I. Like, he's in it. He's in it. And maybe that's because he was like a construction dude in the military, and like he just loves that shit. And to your point, it's not about the money. Maybe he's insanely good at that. Maybe he loves it, and because of that, that's a high value for him. And he'd rather not sub that out. Maybe he did a tour of 220 Madison with me. We were in the back access shaft, and he's telling me about this air conditioner's, 100 years old and it still works, and the elevators are original, they still work, and he's going through all the mechanics, and that's his thing. But what blew my mind was he's at such a high level. Like, I would love one day to redo an old cigar factory. I would love to do a big project like that. And to see a guy at that high of a level be in the mix, rolling the sleeves up, was frankly mind-blowing. And that's why I asked you that question, because I don't think you don't have to step away. Like, to your point, what if you were the best landscaper ever, and like that's a bad example, but like that part of it, right, was your thing, and you hired a manager that did kind of what you do, which is that overarching vision. Like, what if you were the landscaper and you actually were the owner and you hired out the CEO? My point is, passion and what you're good at and what the market will pay you for is almost more important than like the delegation thing. I think so many businesses focus on delegate, delegate, delegate as soon as you can. But if you're super passionate about a particular thing, in his case, construction, the actual construction, he is the developer, he is an investor, but he's also a construction guy. And maybe him not subbing that out, maybe him still being in control of that, still being the boots on the ground in that situation, allowed him to run through a project that I don't know a lot of people could get through. That's a complicated deal.
That's probably how he mitigated the risk. Like I think about where I try to position myself in the business, it's always at the point of maximum risk. So I'm going to own that risk. I'm going to own the result of that risk, good or bad. And so I try to position myself where there could be the most friction so that I can mitigate where possible or make decisions accordingly.
That's a beautiful thing you just said. That's probably how he mitigated the risk. He did another project in West Tampa. I forgot the name of the apartment complex, but he's like, when we took ownership, people were selling drugs and the whole nine, right? He went in there himself and had those conversations with some of those tenants. And maybe he's got that personality in that he felt like hey, I don't want to go hire some security guard to keep this place safe. I'm good at that. I want to go out there and have those conversations myself. And maybe that was less risky. Maybe it would actually be more risky to leave a really intricate project like a cigar factory to a contractor that was just a middle ground type dude, you know? Maybe by him being more involved than he traditionally should have been is the reason those two projects specifically were successful.
I feel like you kind of have to come to that conclusion. It's pretty amazing, actually.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
You have to watch that episode. Wasn't that a great one? His philosophy about how he took those projects down was unbelievable. It's incredible, man. Like to take an old office building, like he did tricky things, like it included no parking. So how many square feet is that? Like 200,000. I forgot the numbers. It's that office building downtown, dude. It's like 15 floors, no parking. Now, everything in the city code says that that's essentially undevelopable. Well, what he did was he got with the National Register of Historic Places, basically got it put on that list, got it grandfathered in, and went around that rule. Look at that building. A vacant office building he turned into student housing. And maybe him rolling up the sleeves and doing all of it himself is the reason it's successful. Maybe there was no opportunity for him to see a vision for this property and to hire that out.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a factor there. I don't know him personally, but I'm just going to kind of like infer this. He probably approached it with like, there's not a no for an answer here. Mm-hmm. There's a way to make this work, and I'm going to find it.
You can find that at small scales too. And I think you probably still experienced this where maybe someone's not doing the right thing on one of your projects and you know how to do it and you've got to roll your sleeves up and do it yourself. And maybe the goal is to distance yourself from that. But it just seems to me that in real estate, unless you're in building like tract housing or very traditional developments, when you're dealing with a city with infill development, especially with these historic buildings or maybe intricacies of the city of Tampa, like the alleyway situation, like you're going to have to drive that alley in your truck yourself to really get the information, to get the real information to make a decision.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you task that to someone on your team? You know,
because there's so many considerations, like of the experience that's there. How wide is it? How overgrown is it? How many driveways are off the, like, there's so many factors that it's.
You'd spend an hour telling someone on your team what to look for.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also on the weekend. And sometimes I work a lot and I love it though. So
I love it too, man. Real estate's been so fun for me. I'm so glad that I started out in real estate. I've never deviated.
Yeah.
And real estate is so deep. There's so many different avenues you could go down, you know, whether it's being in financing or being a broker or an investor or a developer or whatever it is, property manager. Like there's so many different routes to take, but I think it's the coolest industry in the world. You're a part of the physical reality, the fabric of the city.
Yeah. I think the combination of ways to like produce a living within real estate is infinite.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And I bet in your group, have you met people where you're like, oh, I didn't even know that existed in the real estate industry. That's an interesting value that you bring to this industry.
Probably a combination, not necessarily like one strategy, but combination of where people are doing things. I don't have anything off the top of my mind, but I'll let you know if I come up with one.
I'm sure you got some killers on your team though that you found that you probably would not have otherwise met if you hadn't started this group.
Like my employee team or in the group?
Well, in the group, like in the group of people that have joined the Elite Investor.
Yeah.
Mindset group.
Yeah, I think the biggest connection that we have for people kind of getting introduced to the concept is our existing members for sure. We don't do any paid advertising, and it doesn't really make sense for like an invite opportunity. Like I'm gonna sponsor an ad on Instagram and be like, I don't know if you're the right fit. Like it's kind of weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, to be in the career we're in, to be in real estate and to be in Tampa is a beautiful thing because there's so many exciting things happening here. And I think if we were in a market that was mostly built out and highly, highly competitive, New York or LA or whatever, Miami, it would be a lot more difficult to affect change. And like I said earlier about your group, like undertaking the affordable housing crisis by contributing to the supply, period, is a cool thing, man. And to have an impact and have a team behind you like that, I think it's badass.
I appreciate it.
You think you're going to change careers anytime soon?
No.
Real estate forever?
Real estate and entrepreneurship. I think I'll eventually start working more in small business, like service-based businesses, and acquiring those and probably like compiling them all under one umbrella.
Does exiting the military after 15 years allow you more time to focus on this stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I'm there now.
You're there now.
I'm there now. Yeah.
Like you said, it's administrative, kind of, so to speak, at this point.
Yeah, like I have a few medical appointments and like have to do a few forms, but
Yeah.
I'm just using up leave basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're in it.
I'm here.
You're in it.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Let's talk about, because people are going to want to get in touch with you. David, can you pull up your Instagram? Like, where can people find you if they want to follow along? Because you're very active on social.
Yeah, Instagram's the best way. JPL Invest, just my initials. That's the best way.
People can DM you, right? You're not shy to opening a DM.
It depends on what it is. Depends.
Like, loaded question.
Depends on what it is. Yeah, I think we have it set to where if somebody doesn't follow us and they DM us, I don't see it. I don't know. My marketing guy's great. He set it up. So.
How many people are in your team now?
4.
Yeah.
So I have 2 U.S. employees and then 2 virtual assistants.
Are those a game changer for you? I've looked into that too a little bit.
Game changer. Yeah, just they're great at repeatable tasks that are kind of in line with their natural traits. So like I talked about hiring for culture, it's really important with VAs, I think, because if you hire somebody where their cultural traits kind of indicate that they like really repetitive work, mundane, clerical in nature, they don't like to invent they don't like to invent new solutions to problems. Like you put them in kind of like a cold calling role, like that, they might struggle with that, right? To like talk to owners to possibly buy their properties. But yeah, it's been a game changer. So I have one that's she runs my calendar, and she's also like our ops associate. And we also have a marketing associate that just does like full-time editing and puts together a lot of our graphics and stuff. So they're great.
One of the most interesting things about getting older and growing up and being in business is finding out that different people appreciate different things. Mm-hmm. And some people are not only inherently better at certain things, but some people just enjoy certain things. There's people that literally just want the computer job. Like I just want to track something on an Excel file, send emails. Like I don't want to be talking to people. I don't want to be out in the community building relationships with sellers to try to buy properties. I don't want to be cold calling. Like that's not what I want to do.
Yeah. Same.
And when you put people in those positions that don't want to be in those positions, they're not going to thrive. They're going to do horribly.
Yeah.
For some reason, I guess growing up for me, I always thought everyone was on this base flat level and they could all be trained into being a certain way. But I've kind of found through hiring and firing different people, dude, at the end of the day, it's like some people got it and some people don't.
Agree with that.
For whatever position you're looking for. Like if I need a particular position and it's an outward position and I want someone to build relationships with some people in the community, like if I want to try to get certain guests on the show and I wanted to have someone get coffee with different entrepreneurs and see if they'd be a good fit. Well, I can't train that position. Like that person's going to have to be bubbly and friendly and exciting and like someone that people want to talk to, you know, and matching that character trait, matching that personality with the job is so important. And if you try to fit someone's personality and character into a job that doesn't align with that, it's like, you know, fitting a puzzle together that's not going to ever fit, no matter how hard you try.
100%. You got like sales, marketing, finance, operations. Like those are all very different types of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And different people appreciate different things too.
100%.
And certain people that are ambitious to be social and be that person that wants to talk to people, and maybe they, for whatever reason, feel like they can be trained. They can be trained. And I've seen people grow outside themselves. But yeah, everyone's different, right? You got to know your role, find your place. James,
Agree.
you're the man.
Yeah.
Congrats on, do you call it retirement?
No. I'd have to do 20 years to retire. So okay. I'm exiting, just separating from the Navy.
Well, I guess congrats on your separation, man.
Yeah,
15 years is a long time. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers to you.
Yeah, thank you.
James Lascara, everybody. Cheers, man.
Appreciate you having me on.
All right. Bye, everybody.